Hello, everybody. It's Connor again, and this is part two of the Manifestation Challenge and the Manifestation course. And part two of this process, I think, is really the most fun part. You could kind of call this discovery mode. It's the part where you realize, oh, I've been conditioned, I've been manipulated, I've been indoctrinated, and I don't really know who I am. So, part two is very much just you're opening up to the possibility that you could be something very, very different than what you've been so far. It's an exciting time, and it's also a slightly terrifying time because so many of us, we move through life and our strategy is to not upset those around us. So this is one of the reasons that so many of us don't have big wants. It's interesting. In particular, I speak to a lot of people in my work, and they don't have passion. They're not passionate about things, and I think that's an adaptation. They've adapted to a life of fitting in. They've taken on this strategy where I won't offend, I won't upset, I will be nice. And they've realized, oh, if I have a passion, then that's something that will bring the focus back to me rather than having the focus constantly on those around me. So passion is dangerous, because passion can upset other people. If you discover in this part, week two, this discovery mode, if you discover, oh, I have a passion for making music, yet everyone around you has um, kind of established that, oh, no, no, your role in our lives is to be the go-to person. If you've kind of established a role in your life, in your community, in your sort of family, that you are, emotional support person, and then you suddenly realize, oh, my passion is to cycle around the world, and not have a phone and just do my thing, then that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers. So this yeah, week two, discovery mode. You're looking at intention. You're looking at what you want, and you're dealing with the consequences of being a human with individual wants. So I think the first thing to sort of look at here is, already as I'm talking, already as I'm saying these sort of words, you might be noticing want inside your body. You might be noticing desire. There might be little flickers of things, okay? And it's very important to write these down. No matter how strange, even to a certain extent, the stranger the better, right? Because you got to understand that if you've lived a life where you have chosen, to stay small, then you're going to have suppressed your wanting. You're going to have suppressed desire. Just taking a glass of water there. But now that you're coming back to this, now that you're beginning to kind of, I think a lovely word for this is to give yourself permission to have desires, no matter what they are, um, things are going to start flooding back in. And this is the moment where you might experience resistance. Now, resistance is just is the most human thing in the world. We are energy, things flow, things expand, and resistance is just a refusal to go with the flow. So, how resistance shows up is that you'll have a want. You'll realize, you'll go, okay, it's week two, I'm in discovery mode. What is the want that has always been on my mind? And the want might be something like, I would love to surf. And then the resistance comes in the form of, but hold on, you're in your 40s and you have children and you're 1 year into a 25-year mortgage. So this is the resistance. Now, I want to just like add something here, which might sound a little woo-woo, but is good to just sort of take on as a form of theory until you can really believe it. Everything is infinite. We live in an infinite universe. Now I have enough experience of working with people who have come to me with a dream and had a mountain of resistance on top of this dream, but somehow by taking risks and brave action and really trusting themselves, that mountain of resistance disappeared. So I do really believe, and I felt it in my own life and I've seen it in other lives, that possibility is infinite. Resistance is just a smokescreen. We really, really can do whatever we want here. So, so as you begin to notice your wants, just look at the resistance again. You know, and the resistance will come in the form of like, oh, well, that's not very realistic. You know, you can't spend your life dancing, or you can't. No one's gonna wanna. No one's gonna pay you for pet Reiki. Or whatever it is, the little passion that's coming out. It'll be met by these limitations. Okay, and this minimizing, a sort of a playing down of desires. So it's really just important to recognize at this stage that that's what you're going to experience. You're going to experience, I have a want, and then the first thing will be the kind of the whiplash, which is, oh, but this isn't realistic. Keep going on. The next part is you want to own that want. Like just sort of in terms of just really starting to kind of say like, well, no, like I want to surf. I'm sorry. I'm gonna probably just have to stick with the surfing example. I might have picked up a more accessible one, but we're gonna have to stick with the surfing one. I've started, so I'll finish. It's like I do want to surf, and maybe this is something that like my whole family gets involved in. Maybe this is gonna work. Why would it not work? Why could we not all move our lives to the coast? Why could we not give up this mortgage? And so on and so forth. Just begin to really own your desire and play it out. I think a good thing at this stage is to draw it out. If a lot of the time when I begin to get a desire, I'll sit down and I'll journal it, and I'll journal it in detail, and I'll like the thing that I'm trying to own at the moment is that I want to work 3 days a week. Um, and the biggest thing that I'm kind of experiencing in this is sort of there's a little bit of resistance. The little resistance is sort of, well, 4 days sounds more applicable. But 3 days is really what I'm going for. 3 days sounds like a beautiful amount of time for me to do what I do. And then the other times I want to be out in nature and away from technology. So owning this and kind of journaling about it, writing it down, telling people who are safe. I very, very rarely tell my mother my dreams or my plans, because my mother uh, interprets everything through her own filter of worry and fear. So be careful. Look at who you're going to share these things with. I like to share things with enthusiastic people. I've managed to gather a little crew around me who are enthusiastic and expansive. Know who are the expansive people who I can share my desire with. When I say to them, so I'd love to like move the whole family to the coast so I could surf every morning. Um, Only share that with people who you feel are going to come back to you with, wow, that's amazing. I know someone who did that. It's not that hard. Um, the next thing to really do is to just feel this in your body. Try to connect to this feeling. What would it feel like as you're journaling these things out, okay? And as you're journaling it, it's quite a cognitive exercise. But manifestation works at the subconscious feeling level. So when you can embody the feeling of the thing you want, and it's really interesting. This is how the order mechanism works. When you are in that feeling of And again, we got to stay with this surfing example. I'm sorry for all the people who would find that very boring. But you imagine how it feels to get out of the water after a surf in the morning. You know, it's maybe 8 a.m. and the water's freezing and the sun is appearing, and you're salty and you're out of breath and you're wet. And you imagine that feeling, you really get it. You get that feeling of like endorphins and the happiness and the satisfaction, and you embody that feeling, you hold that feeling. And it doesn't matter if your current vista is office blocks and you're in a city and there's construction noise. Like, this is really testing your capacity to create from zero. The same thing works in love. You know, when you're in a relationship or you're out of relationship and you feel very far from love and you go, oh, I want love, I want partnership. Inhabit the feeling. Recognize, like, get as much detail as you possibly can on how this might appear, how this might look, and then inhabit that feeling. Own the feeling. Really sort of begin to just experience it through your body. And the more you can do that, because how this works is that our feelings, our beliefs, they send out vibrations, and those vibrations create material reality. Um, Something I wanted to do this year, for example, was I wanted to pivot from social media to having a community. Um, it was an idea that I had last Christmas. I was like, no, I want to create my own community, so eventually I feel less tethered to social media. So, and also it was just the sense of like, I want to be able to, as sort of as my account on Instagram has been growing, I receive negativity there. You know, people kind of challenging things that I'm saying, and I just don't want that. I want to create a community where people are all kind of, not that like everything I say is going to be completely accurate, but I just don't want to be convincing people to believe in these things. I wanted to create a community where by signing up, people are like, okay, I get it. And maybe I don't fully embody what you're saying, Connor, but I'm open to it. And and that was a desire. I began to feel, I was like, okay, how would it feel to wake up every morning knowing that there's a community there, and this community are supporting me, you guys, and that I can just kind of create without a filter, right? I don't have to worry about what a broader public will think of what I'm saying. And this was it. I was just imagining the feeling of joy and relief and ease and acceptance. So, and then quite quickly it's happened. Now it's here. So this is really how this works. You recognize a want. You know that you're going to get bombarded by limitation and resistance. That's fine. This is part of the process. And then you really sort of get clear on what the want is. Like you journal about the want, you start to feel it inside your body, and then you start to share it. You know, you start to share it with a few trusted people, because this is what builds confidence. It's also, it kind of puts your hat in the ring a little bit, you know? By expressing these things, you are starting to materialize them. Um, and that's it. You keep working. And then the next thing you start to look for, and this is the next thing that'll happen, is because once you've, to a certain extent, it's like you've cast a spell. You've declared your intention. You've said, I have a want. Listen up, world. I have a want, and this is the want, and I can feel it, and it feels so good. And once you've done that, you're now playing tennis with the manifestational ordnance department of the universe. And the universe must hit the ball back. It's in their court. And how it does this is it shows you different doors. So we're going back to this tiring surf analogy of someone who's living in Dublin and wants to relocate to Donegal or Lahinch so they can surf every morning. And what will happen once this person has like developed that intention in their life, has is feeling it. They're feeling the salt water dripping off their cold toes. Maybe there's a big golden retriever on the beach with them, waiting. And they got the details, right? Now, once you've sort of declared this to the universe, the next part is looking for clues. And the clues are going to come up in really interesting things. There's going to be someone in the office who surfs, but you've never liked them. You've always had something. You don't know what it is. You're just like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what it is about this person, but I don't like them. And you go, oh, and they surf. And maybe the reason I don't like them is because of the resistance to my own dream. And so you realize, okay, I'm going to do something I would never have done before. And you go and you talk to them. And they say something like, oh, come surfing with me next weekend. And the dream's already starting to happen. You're making the first steps. So other things will be, you'll see signs in windows. I think it's comical sometimes. When I get into this, sometimes it happens so quickly. I'll have an idea. There's something I want. Okay, just recently, I'll give you an example. So I live in Mallorca, and everyone's into cycling here. And I've always kind of felt resistance to cycling. For one reason, because it's an expensive sport. The other, everyone wears this Lycra stuff, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I couldn't see myself in Lycra. But I could just feel, I was like, oh, there's a hidden desire there to have one of these beautiful bicycles that all these guys have. And I go to cafes and these guys are there on like these amazing bicycles. And I've always felt a little bit of jealousy for that, which is a great sign that there's something you want. Anyway, realizing that I wanted this, I bought myself a bicycle last month. And then immediately I find myself in this situation where all these people who I kind of knew but weren't really my friends are now my friends. And they're saying, oh, I have an extra helmet, or I have extra gear. Guys, you wouldn't believe it, but I have a section of my wardrobe that is now just like full of Lycra, and I haven't bought any of it. I'm just given Lycra that people haven't used before. Don't worry, it's not secondhand Lycra. That would be kind of icky. It's just stuff like stock material that people have given me. And this is how the universe begins to work. It rewards you for having a want and following a want. So look out for clues. Look out for where these things are hiding in plain sight. And then the next thing, and probably the most important part of all of this, is to rest. What we're learning to do is we're learning to create without effort, right? This is the feminine. The feminine is this confident, established, all-knowing presence inside of you. It's this energy that says, I can instantly create. I want something. I send that wish out. I feel it inside my body. And I know that the order is sent and it's on its way to me right now. It's coming. It's arriving. I've sent out the order. It's on its way. And how we do this, how we rest and how we relax, is we celebrate the change, we celebrate the manifestation before it's even arrived. I have a piece of land that I sometimes talk to you guys about. At the moment, like there's nothing growing on it. We've just been clearing the land to sort of create space to eventually grow things. I celebrate the plants that haven't grown. I celebrate the food that hasn't grown yet. I celebrate the structures that I haven't built yet. I feel them, and I'm so grateful for them. And I try as much as possible to stay in this feeling of gratitude. Gratitude for the things that I haven't physically sent yet, because I know that by sending out that vibration of gratitude, the dispatch department in the universe is going to realize, well, this guy is very happy for this thing, so we better give it to him, because clearly there's an energetic mismatch here. And this is how it works. This is really this is what we do. It's about wanting, but not wanting from a place of my life is empty without this. It's like a wanting, and then we actually taste it in our mouth. We feel it in our bones. We live the experience at a distance, and then the distance gets very, very short until the experience is there. So that's that, guys. Thank you for listening. I'm going to release the new questions as well today. I'll release them in the Discord. And then tomorrow morning's meditation, which once it's recorded and live, I'll also put it into the Discord. I'll put the link in the Discord. Tomorrow morning's meditation will be all about connecting with desire, connecting with wanting, and feeling it in your body. Thank you so much for listening, and so much love to all of you.